Hey everyone, Calvin Zito from Hewlett Packard Enterprise. If you've been following me on social media for any length of time, you know that I have a podcast. That podcast at the beginning of the year got a new name. So it had been Around the Storage Block. We changed the name to Around the IT Block because I was expanding with the content and I wasn't just talking about storage. But a bigger change happened at the beginning of October, and that is now that it's an official HPE podcast. As a result of that change, it's no longer on the old hosting platform. So one thing I want to point you to is at the top right of the screen here on YouTube. If you click that I at the top of the right side of the screen, it'll take you to a blog post I wrote that gives you more detail about what changes we've made and how you can subscribe to the new podcast. The podcast is still available on lots of different podcasting platforms. You can find it on Spotify, Google Podcast, Amazon Music Podcast, Podcast Addict, Player FM, Stitcher, and hopefully sometime in the next few days, it'll also be on iTunes because I've got it submitted to iTunes. If you go to that blog that I'm pointing to at the top right of the screen by clicking on the I, you can subscribe to the podcast from any of those locations. And I'm going to keep this blog updated over the next several months. When I have new episodes, I'll add them to this blog, kind of almost as a homepage for the podcast. And I'll also update any new places where you can subscribe. So be sure to click the I on the top of the screen. Be sure to subscribe to Around the IT Block so you don't miss the content from the podcast that is now an official HPE podcast. So that's it. Short and sweet today. Thanks for watching the video. Thanks for listening to my podcast, and subscribe now.